Look, I'm not saying every show with queerbait is good. I'm just saying I happen to like all shows with queerbait. This is the Owl House. Are you tired of J.K. Rowling spouting random crap about Harry Potter? Well, Dana Terrace has your back. We have Luz, the cinnamon roll who read too much of a Harry Potter ripoff in this Harry Potter ripoff, and she's so starstruck at entering a world of magic, she's willing to ignore all the incredibly obvious dangers to her life in pursuit of living out her fantasy. There's also Willow, who's shy and likes plants, but she gets bullied a lot because she was a late bloomer, even though she showed everyone her awesome power, and for some reason nobody cares about the fact that she's clearly more powerful than them and bully her anyway. And there's Gus, a boy who is obsessed with humans, and even though everyone in this world knows about humans, nobody knows anything about them. Haha, that's a funny plot hole that we're going to ignore because it's constructed purely for humor and you aren't smart for pointing it out. It's glaringly obvious to everyone, and that's kind of the point. And there's King, the king of demons, who is literally the embodiment of this picture. And there's Ida, the owl lady, the character whose foxy attitude makes me question whether or not I'd sleep with a cougar. Don't forget Amity, who's supposed to be a bad friend to Willow, then started repairing their friendship, and also she's super gay for Luz, but Luz wouldn't be able to find a Twix in a candy store, so she has no idea, even though it's so obvious. Like, it's just so obvious. Luz, why can't you just see Amity likes you? Just, please, girl, you're ruining me. I can only read so much Lumity fanfic to quell these feelings. Just do me. Luz trains under Ida, and Ida is cursed to turn into an owl. Thus, she's called the Owl Lady. Also, Ida is a bad girl who defies the evil Emperor's will, which only makes me more attracted to her. And her sister Lilith is a goody two-shoes who decided to knuckle under and serve the Emperor because of sibling rivalry. A sibling rivalry that led her to curse her sister, crippling her ability to live a normal life because of petty jealousy. I would have done the same thing if I was her, honestly. Did I mention this video has spoilers? Because this video has spoilers.
All right, every great sports story includes a training montage. Oh, I get it now. Wait, were we just having a tea party in Animal Jammies? What happens in the montage stays in the montage.
Yeah, what she said. I'm gonna be honest, I think after everything that's happened, I now have a strong distaste for Harry Potter. Especially since I actually kind of liked their mobile game, but they made it way too grindy and made me wait way too long to actually do anything after you got through the main, beginner part. And it was just such a grind, and I hated it. And it was, it's just such a waste of an actually good mobile game. But the genre of wizard school, yes, I'm keeping the onesie on for the rest of the video. I didn't buy this thing just to waste it for one little skit. The whole wizard school genre is just so much fun and fills me with so much joy that it really hurt not having that genre to indulge in anymore. Not until Owl House. And Owl House gets a little bit meta with its narrative, well, at least with its setup. The whole idea is that Luz wants that Harry Potter fantasy life that she's read in her books, and when she comes to the Boiling Isles, she finds out that isn't really what she's going to get. The meta part of how it's constructed its story is what's happening right now, just how the Harry Potter books have slowly been taken over by movies and app games trying to squeeze all the profits out of it and taking away the honest-to-God magic that we felt when we were younger. Luz experiences something similar with her world of magic, not being what she'd always hoped it would be. But of course she gets to live in a world of magic while I live in America. Every day, I wake up in America. Not only does this show deliver on the wizard school fantasy, but also delivers on how that genre is somewhat tainted nowadays. You can't make any story centered around wizard school without it being strongly compared to Harry Potter. Like how I compared Little Witch Academia with Harry Potter, and I basically just said that this is like a Japanese Disney-fied Harry Potter show. And I know that description upset some people because a lot of people want things like Little Witch Academia and Harry Potter to be separated. And I would give Owl House that treatment of separation, but it's obvious that they set up Owl House to break down the Harry Potter fantasy. So I really just can't separate them. I gotta talk about it, I'm sorry. But don't worry, because after the first initial episodes, they really start deviating away from that whole meta-narrative of the Harry Potter, not Harry Potter kind of world that she lives in. So let me catch you up to speed. Luz was supposed to go to a summer camp, but ended up going through a magic door into the Boiling Isles. There, she met Ida the Owl Lady, and Luz, of course, wants Ida to teach her magic, but Ida is a wanted criminal, and also Luz isn't an inherently magical being, so she needs to figure out how to cast magic her own way. Luz ends up going to magic school because, of course she does, and you learn an interesting quirk about this world. You see, the Emperor only allows people who serve under him to practice all types of magic. Everyone else can only practice a single school of magic. You know, to oppress them and make sure him and his forces are the strongest. Now, the thing I like about modern Disney cartoons is that they know how to set up a cartoon to develop a story and create a fan base to where there's enough story beats that aren't fully explained, there's enough mystery to get people talking, while also structuring it the way, you know, TV shows usually are, where any episode you can kind of just jump into and not have any idea what it is, but you can get the general gist of what's going on. Any episode can really just be your gateway into Owl House. And since these shows are still developed for broadcasting on TV and not made for streaming services, the concept of needing every episode to provide enough context so that it can be an entry point for new people is still incredibly important. Even though I think modern cartoons are a lot stronger if they're just structured in a way for streaming services so that we don't have to worry about that. But then again, comic books are kind of actually developed like that, where it needs to give enough, context into what's happening so that you can jump in at really any issue. But still, comic books are just so big that it's daunting. And now I'm afraid that the structure of streaming services may actually create that dauntingness feeling, or at least somewhat, when TV shows have just made it to where it's not actually that scary. But if you're used to streaming service cartoons, then jumping into TV show cartoons may still give people that weird little leveling of anxiety that really shouldn't be there because it's structured so that you don't need it. It's weird. And ever since the success of Gravity Falls, Disney basically just broke down what happened in Gravity Falls and what made it so successful, and repeated that for basically all their cartoons, like Owl House and Amphibia. And especially since Dana Terrace... Am I pronouncing her name right? Dana? Is it Dana or Dana? I think it's Dana. And since Dana Terrace actually storyboarded on Gravity Falls and was the director for the modern DuckTales, she really knows what she's doing. And I'm pretty sure that studios figured out that the LGBT community foster really strong fan bases, and those fan bases really help keep shows alive. Just look at Supernatural. So seeing at least allusions to LGBT characters is becoming more common. This isn't really much of an allusion to an LGBT character. They're just kind of slapping it in your face now. In a Reddit AMA, Dana told everyone, Amity is intended to be a lesbian, and Luz is bi. I apologize for my original post, which was worded vaguely. Romantic threads are fun, and I love how many people are connecting to that storyline, but my personal taste as a storyteller will never allow me to write a full-on romance saga. That being said, me and the crew are having a crap ton of fun developing this thread in Season 2. All the ins and outs of these storylines we're keeping track of. Feels like we're knitting. And touching on that last bit, she did actually talk about in that same AMA that her taste in storytelling, personal storytelling, is that she prefers more adult-themed stories when it comes to cartoons, or just in general. I didn't actually ask. I can't ask. I found the AMA way later than when it actually happened. Whatever. And if you look online, you'll see that Owl House is actually categorized as a fantasy horror, which is low-key probably why I like it so much. She wrote, the original pitch for Owl House was darker, yes. My end game is not to continue writing kids' cartoons, which are wonderful and rewarding, but not my personal jam. I prefer stories for older audiences, where things like whimsy and darkness can coexist. I mean, hell, look at my personal artwork. Owl House is as kid-friendly as I'll ever be. Season 1, there was a lot of back and forth and compromise to work with, what the studio wanted, and I'm very proud of what we accomplished in these first 19 episodes. The Owl House crew is amazing, but it was also an impactful learning experience as to what my creative voice is and what kind of stories I want to tell. That being said, I think Season 2 hit that intended tone a little closer. Excited to share it someday. And if Luz is the wide-eyed youngster who wants to believe in magic, Ida is the older fanbase who got on Twitter and learned about all the crap that's going on behind the scenes. Ida really shines in the first season because she's really the one who got the most character development. Ida's secret was revealed and she confronted her sister and they learned to start rebuilding their relationship. Luz, I wouldn't say grew, but did have a strong moment where she showed vulnerability and told Ida how she felt.
You have a family already. Go back to them. And when you're home, use your fire magic to destroy the portal door. I don't know why Bellows wants it, but we can't take any chances.
I love you, Ida.
I love you too, kiddo.
I'm not crying, you're crying. Just don't look at me.
Also, Amity and Willow had more character development than Luz after seeing them reconstruct their relationship, as well as Amity realizing she's got a massive crush on Luz and is really adorable. Now, that's not to say that Luz had no character development, because that's absolutely not true. Her character was slowly developed through the course of the show, as is typical. But it was the big moments that were memorable, especially to me. And it was those big moments that Luz didn't have as much, except for that time with Grom when, you know, they were dancing, but that also more kind of felt like a moment for Amity as well as Luz. What I want is a moment that is as strong as what some of the others had. And it seems like they're building up that sort of moment with Luz and her mom, but then even then, I'm not entirely sure. Regardless, what we have been given in this show has just been knocking it out of the park. The first season of Owl House felt like I watched a whole series with how well it was developed. And ever since the Grom episode, I have been desperately searching for Lumity fan art. And there isn't as much as I want, but what I do find is honestly some kind of hilarious. God, this fan base just knows how to tell good jokes, and I want a season 2 so bad, and I know that technically it's already been announced, but it's still taking a long time for what feels like an eternity, and so in the meantime, I just bully my friends into watching it on Disney Plus like good friends do. Honestly, this whole video was just me telling you that it's a really good show, and you should watch it. There isn't really much else other purpose behind this video. Please DM me your Lumity fan art. You can find me on my social medias. I'm begging you, please. I can't get enough of it. Also, I have a Patreon where you can get my stickers and trading cards if that's something that interests you. But before you do that, you should watch The Owl House, okay? Cool. Bye.